All right. Come on it, come on it, come on it, come on it, come on it. Come on it. When you come on, you can share, please. It's going to be a quick one. It's going to be a quick one. Korabashata labadi, zibibi andabados kabadias. Come on in and share, come on in and share, come on in and share. All right. Come on in and share. 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 Come on, come on, come on, let's share. All right. We are talking about. Please, if you come on, you can take a minute and share quickly. Come on, take a minute and share quickly. Welcome to Empower Africa. Welcome, everybody. Wherever you're watching us from, please take a minute and share. We have 2 minutes to start. Take a minute and share. Share on your pages, share on your timelines. Share, 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 share. I hope you can hear me. Good. Share on your groups, share on the social media handles. We're talking about the economy and the church. The economy and the church. Or the church and the economy. So please take a minute and share. It's going to be a quick one here. Welcome to Empower Africa. If you know any pastor, you can tag them. If you know any leader, you can tag them. Any believer, you can tag them. The assignment of man is on the earth. The assignment of every believer is not in heaven, but is on the earth. So we are sent from heaven for an assignment on the earth. Psalm 115 verse 16. The heavens belongs to God, but the earth he has given to the children of men. The assignment of every man is on earth. And every believer, every born again believer is a solution. Every born again believer is a solution to a problem on earth. Every born again believer is an answer to a prayer. Every born again believer is a solution to a problem on earth. Every born again believer is sent from heaven to earth for an assignment on earth. Every born again believer, every believer, as soon as you're born again, you are not born again to rush back to heaven. So unpack your bags, okay? Every born again believer is sent from heaven for an assignment on earth. Heaven is our final home. Earth is our place of work. Heaven is our final home. Earth is our place of work. So we are sent from heaven. We are sent from heaven to earth for an assignment on this earth. We are sent to impose the values and the systems of heaven on this earth. We are sent from heaven to the earth to impose the values and the culture and the systems of heaven on this earth. We are sent from heaven for a unique assignment. Every believer is sent from heaven for a unique assignment on the earth. Nobody is born again to be a spectator. Every believer is a solution to a problem. Every believer is a solution to a problem on this earth. Every believer is redeemed as a leader. We are redeemed as leaders. We are redeemed as change agents. We are redeemed to fulfill a purpose, an assignment on the earth. Nobody is born again to live for himself. Nobody is born again to live for himself. We are redeemed to live for an assignment. We are redeemed. That is why the gift of God inside of us does not benefit us, but benefit humanity. So we are sent for a mission. We are sent for a purpose. We are born for a purpose. And that purpose must be fulfilled. Must be fulfilled. You and I, we are solutions. We are solutions to challenges on the earth, challenges of humanity. We are solutions. We are the solution to a major problem on earth. Every believer has a different sphere of influence that God has mandated you to be a solution in that area. And it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to discover God, discover the problem we are born to solve, and deploy ourselves. To fulfill that assignment on the earth. And the church is God's heavenly diplomatic center on the earth. The church is for equipping of the saints. The church is for the training of kingdom leaders. The church is to empower the believer. The church is to empower the believer. So everything that the church does must at the end of the day must come to a place where we are empowered as kingdom leaders, as ambassadors to fulfill a unique assignment on the earth. We must fulfill a unique assignment on the earth. No believer is born again. No believer is redeemed to be a spectator. None of us. We are all redeemed to fulfill an assignment and to solve a problem. So, the economy of a nation, the economy of Africa, will develop, will increase when the church accept responsibility and have kingdom perspective. I want you to get it. The church, the economy of Africa will develop, will grow based on the church. Based on the church. Because the greatest and the largest human capital is in the church. The economy of Africa, the economy of most nations, where there are a lot of Christians and there's a lot of churches, the economy will depend on the church. When the church raises up, remember this, that a man of God, a woman of God, is either forming or deforming people by the preaching and the teaching and the training that the people go through in the church. So it is our responsibility. It is a responsibility of we the pastors to be able to develop the saints, develop them to grow in God, to grow in the spirit, to grow in their gifting, to grow in their purpose, and to become solution creators in society. You got it? So economy grows when the human capital in the pews are developed. Economy is weakened when the human capital in the pews are only spiritual. I want you to get it. The economy of Africa will grow when the pews, the masses in the pews, are developed as problem solvers. And the economy weakens when the potentials and the giftings that God has placed inside of us is not developed from the church. to solve problems. Why? Because they say Africa's greatest problem is low productivity or lack of values or bad leadership. Africa's challenge is low productivity. Low productivity. One of our greatest challenges in the continent of Africa is low productivity, meaning that we produce little and we consume a lot. We produce little and we consume a lot. Why? Because the masses that are in church are not trained to produce. So we have a huge human capital in the church, but until they are developed to solve problems and to see problems as opportunities, they rob the continent. Not they rob, we rob the continent. Why? Because every human being, every born again believer is a solution to a problem. Every born again believer, please take a minute and share. Take a minute and share. This is very powerful. This is very powerful. This is very powerful. This is very powerful. Every born again believer is a solution to a problem. We are solution to problems. We are solution. We are not just spiritual people, but we are solution to problems. And sitting in our pews are world changers. We sitting in our pews are great leaders. Every believer has a leadership dynamic on the inside of him. Okay? So the economy of Africa will only grow when our sermons changes to empower the believer not just to be spiritual, but to be mentally developed, to be developed in their gifting, and to be able to create solution. To create solution. To create solution. When the masses in the pews are not creating solution, they are indirectly robbing the continent and generations of what God has placed within us. So let's take it for example. If you have 60% of believers in Africa, or 7% of believers in Africa, because we have some of the biggest churches, and we are not empowered to create solution, to adapt problems and solve them, we will build more churches. We will build more cathedrals. And the bigger our cathedrals, the poorer we become, because we are not solving problems. We have not developed ourselves to solve problems. I want you to get it. So economy grows when there is productivity. People are growing. People are productive people. When people are giving their best, they're solving problems. People are maximizing the gift of God inside of them, the ideas inside of them. They are deploying it to solve problems for humanity. So, for example, the wealth of a church is not based on the tithe and offering that is coming to the church. The wealth of a church is based on the problems that the people solve in the church. The problem that people solve in the community from the church. So, for example, if you have people that are not doing good jobs, who are unemployed, who don't have any great jobs and everything, they will be praying, they'll be paying tithe, but they'll pay tithe very little. You understand? But when when you empower ordinary men to become extraordinary men, and they are giving changes. Why? Because they are solving uncommon problems. So, in every church, there are Bill Gates, there are Jeff Bezos, there are Mark Zuckerberg, there are Mother Teresa. There are uncommon people sitting in the pews. But they must be developed. They must be developed spiritually, intellectually, mentally, financially, socially, and nationally. When They are only developed spiritually. They can only handle spiritual issues. They cannot handle economical issues. They cannot deploy themselves to solve problems for the community. You got to get it. You got to get it. So, when as a pastor, all your sermons are only spiritual sermons, you will raise up anointed people, but they will not be productive people. Why? Because life on earth is governed by principles and laws. Life on earth is governed by principles and laws. So it is good to be spiritual, but there must be a need to understand principles and laws so that we can be relevant on the earth. So that we can be relevant and dominate on the earth. Because those who are dominating on the earth are mostly unbelievers who understand principles and laws. So the economy will begin to take another turn and begin to grow, and we're going to see a lot of development, and Africa will become the talk of the world when the masses that are in church are empowered, are developed, are trained, not just to go to heaven, but they are trained as kingdom leaders with a kingdom perspective who are seeing problems as opportunities. When the masses in church are not developed mentally, spiritually, and all around to solve problems, they are indirectly robbing the society. They are robbing the nation of that which they are sent from heaven to give humanity. That is why our sermons and teachings are either adding to the nation or taking away from the nation. It's either adding to the society or robbing the society. We can have a big church of 100,000 people, but when the message is wrong, they will not be contributors, they will only be consumers. They will not be givers, they will only be receivers. They will not be solution created, they will only be spectators. I receive, I receive, I receive. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, has built an economy bigger than many nations put together. One man with an idea. Mark Zuckerberg has built a $160 billion empire just by, he doesn't pray in tongues, he doesn't go to church, he doesn't believe in God. Don't believe in God. Just by discovering his passion and creating solution. So most of our sermon must be able to empower the believer to create solution to the challenges in the area of his gifting. Otherwise, we will raise a lot of spiritual people who are not productive people, who are not creating any device. They are not creating anything. Why? Because they have suspended the use of their mind for productive living. Very important here. Very important here. So Africa's future, Africa's development, Africa's beauty, Africa's greatness is not in the government. It's not in the government. It is in all of us accepting responsibility to be able to use the gift of God that God has placed in us, look at the blueprint of heaven and duplicate the blueprint of heaven on this earth. That is what the Protestants did in Europe to spark civilization. All right. So if all we do in church is pray, dancing, we will be happy Christians, but we will not be productive Christians. And at the end of the day, we will become slaves of the unbelievers who are deploying themselves to create value and to solve problems for humanity in the area of their passion. So the church is either strengthening the economy or weakening the economy by the sermons we preach. Let me say that again. The church is either strengthening the economy or weakening the economy by the sermons we preach, because we are either empowering the sane to become spiritual and become productive by developing the mind and their philosophy, or the church is either raising them for heaven and raising them to become consumers and collectors who are not solving problems for their communities. So you see a church, poverty all around. Economy is terrible. Why? God hides the solution to every community and society and every nation in the pews. And it is our responsibility as pastors to develop them. To develop them. You can have a whole church of fiery, spiritual, dynamic people who none of them is relevant in society. We can have a church of firebrand warriors, prayer warriors, hot worshippers, life-changing spiritual bulldozers who are slaves of the occultic realm, because the occultic man is creating business, and the tongue-talking believer is not developed to as a kingdom personality on earth, to advance the kingdom and to see problems as opportunities. So everything that we do as pastors in Africa is connected to the economy, because the economy will not grow out of the blue from anywhere. It is the productivity of the people in the pews, a high percentage of the human capital are in the pews, and they must be developed. They must be developed. I pray for you and I that the Lord will give us wisdom, so that we can adopt the kingdom perspective and be able to empower the believer, spirit, soul, and body, to build capacity in the mind, to build capacity in the spirit, to build capacity in their gifting, and then to be able to engage their mind to solve problems. Otherwise, we only build churches, but we cannot transform society. Sitting in every church is a huge economy. That is why when the pastor is ignorant, the pews will suffer. When the pastor is ignorant, he will rob the pews of their contributions. We can't afford to do that. I pray for you and I. May God give us the grace to be able to adopt the kingdom perspective and begin to empower the pews and deploy them as contributors. We must empower the pews and deploy them as contributors. We must empower the pews and deploy them as contributors. And then our economy will grow. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.